Welcome to another installment of Star Citizen. Let me tell you, we have been mining the solar system, looking for fame and fortune, trying to find those great rocks, and let me tell you, I think I found it. So first, a little disclaimer. There are probably a lot of really great rocks out there. And this is not necessarily the one rock to get. I'm going to continue to mine, and if I find a great gem, literally a gem in the rough, I'm going to tell you about it. But I'll tell you, I've tried to pick up a number of the fairly high value ores out there.
High-grade ore, I've heard.
And I've been a little disappointed in some of them, or frustrated, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. But this ore that I'm going to reveal to you sells, I'm just going to give you a little teaser here, it sells, from my calculations, at 32.43 alpha UEC per unit. That's amazing. But it's not just the price of the ore that's the incredible thing about this. There's layers here with the mining that you've heard me talk about that actually make some ores better than others. So in my mining out there, I looked for various ores, and one of the ones that I tried was Laronite. I found this pretty good rock, pretty high percentage, but there's a couple problems with every time I try to mine Laronite. Here's a classic example of what I'm talking about. Now, this isn't the only Laronite rock that this exact same thing has happened to me. I found this piece of Laronite. It's got a fairly moderate percentage in it, 4.27%, but the difficulty was this instability. The instability was already fairly high, 3.18. Now that's pretty doable. I also look down here at the gap that I'm going to have to keep that laser in. So the instability affects how radically and the volatility at which your mining laser is going to oscillate up and down, and trying to keep it in this little range here, it's doable. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I can fracture this rock. But I had a feeling I knew what was going to happen.
I have a bad feeling about this.
When I fractured this rock down, yes, I got this nice 22, almost 22.5% piece of Laronite, but the instability, because it had so much more concentration in it, went up to 5.33. And that little band window that I had to keep the mining laser in shrunk down super small. I mean, that thing's pretty tiny. So trying to keep the laser in that window is nearly impossible.
Approximately 3,720 to 1.
But I'm a little bit of a glutton for punishment here. So, I tried. And I tried a little while longer. But after about 20 minutes, I'm just not going to get the reward out of this. Now, maybe with enough time, I might be able to fracture this thing. The developers have said that the longer you keep your laser focused in the exact same spot, pouring energy into it, the more stable the rock kind of becomes. I spent quite a bit of time with this rock. Yes, it did seem like it might have leveled out a little bit from when I first started trying to mine it, but it was still really volatile. It would shoot above, it would start to overcharge, I'd have to turn off the laser. It was just very, very frustrating. So a rock like this and an ore like this, even though it might have a great return on it, is just too hard to mine.
It's impossible.
You would just spend so much time if you could even get the rock at all.
Well, Mr. Spy?
So this is what I found as a much better alternative.
There are always alternatives.
This is Terranite. It's what was selling for a little over 32 alpha UEC. And the thing that really made this also very attractive is that the instability of this rock and the ore that it's in is reasonably low. This Terranite rock here that started out at about 7% was under 1 for its stability. That's great. That's a pretty easy mineable rock. Even when I got a slightly higher concentration at about 13.5%, it's still very stable. It's just slightly over 1 now. And when a really high percentage, 58% rock flies out, look, it's still at 1.72. Very high stability, very mineable. So I've never really found the instability of this Terranite rock to get to a point where it just becomes impossible and frustrating to mine. That combination of low instability and very high value is what made it my number one pick at the moment. So you might be saying, well, Earth, where do I find this miracle rock?
Oh, sure. Where are you going to find such a Superman?
Well, that's also other good news. I've found this rock to be fairly plentiful on Lyria, the moon surrounding ArcCorp, and on Aberdeen, the moon surrounding Hurston. The percentages are good. The rock masses are fairly decent. This rock that I broke up here that started pretty close to 6,000 in mass at about 7%. This is what it cashed in at. That's a pretty good return on your mining investment. But before I leave you with this episode, I'm just going to give you one last little nugget here, something to chew on. Check out my highest return that I've ever gotten on